I'm Julie, and this is Gary. And we have 9 children and 16 grandchildren. And I have several here tonight, which is awesome. Would you, in the back row, our girls, would you please stand up? Yeah, yeah. Those are 4, and then Sherry went out with the baby, and then Leah's here too, but just not yet. So anyway, we're very blessed that way, and ours is a blended family. I did not birth 9 children, thank you, and very thankful for that. But we are going to be talking about, it's restore, remember, refocus, whatever it is. We're going to be talking about everyday vision. So everyday vision in the concept that, we're going to go through it and, yeah.
To speak around the world, I just reminded Julie last night that we're not just speaking to us. We're speaking to those, she was talking about fear last night. I mean, the world, there's a lot of people out there in the third world countries that they're operating a lot of fear that's come upon them just because their circumstances are so different than ours. When you talk about orphanages that need $100 to have food for a month, and they don't have that. So we got to remember we're not just talking to us, we're talking to many others. So, and I got to stay close because I got to talk into this little thing there too. It's going to be tough. I'll have to super glue my hand here. So, but as we were praying about this, and our message for tonight is talking about everyday vision, because a lot of us, God gives us a big vision. As Hans says, I've been doing youth camps for 40 years, and I have a vision for young people, and that vision has carried me and affected a lot of kids, but it keeps me excited about young people. It keeps me excited. I'm excited for camp coming up this year. We are going to have youth camp in July, and we're going to affect lives through that. We'll show a video here in a little bit, but we got the long-term vision. God gives us a vision to have a church or a ministry or whatever that is, music. He gives you the big vision, but without the day-to-day, the day-to-day is where we live, and we've got to have a vision for our day-to-day. And as I was thinking about that, we were thinking about the children of Israel. And we're going to read a little bit about as they came out of Egypt into the wilderness and how that God was taking them out of a place of slavery into their rightful position, how he saw them and what he spoke over their life. And so that vision of the Israelites was the promised land, the land of milk and honey. And there's so many things about that, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that was the end game, getting to the promised land. But there was no life for them at that time in Egypt. As we read the story, there was no life going on. And so God comes down there, and they were without vision. They were without hope. They were in a tough place, a very difficult place. And God, through Moses, came to them, and he painted a picture. And that picture of that land that was flowing with milk and honey, the promised land, that was their big vision. And so God, as we know the story, parts the sea and they go over to the other side, and the Israelites took this journey through the wilderness. Now I looked up and see how far it would take to go from Egypt up to the land of Israel. It's about a 2-week journey. It took them a couple more days than 2 weeks. It took them 40 years.
40 years.
Not 8 weeks, 40 years.
Yeah, so you think about the Israelites were in Egypt just about 200 years, and when they came, they were highly favored, and Joseph and that whole story. And in over 200 years, they went from favor to slavery because they had forgotten that God was a God of provision. And he had provided a way out of bondage for them, and yet within 3 days, as soon as they got out, they had one of the best miracles ever seen, the parting of the Red Sea, and 3 days into the journey, they're complaining. And they forgot. They have short-term memory loss, and oh, God, you've never done anything for us. Now here we are. What are we going to do? We're out here, and end of the world. All is lost. All is lost, and that's what they're saying, right? Out there in the wilderness, because they didn't see what they thought they were going to see.
Yeah. So we're going to read in Exodus 16, verses 1 through 3. It says, the whole Israelite community set out from Elim, and on the 15th day of the second month, after they had left Egypt, they came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai. There in the desert, they all complained to Moses and Aaron and said to them, we wish that the Lord had killed us in Egypt. That's a people of faith. 45 days after walking through the parted sea and turning around and seeing, they walked across on dry land. They got to the other side, and the Egyptians couldn't, with their chariots, their horses, couldn't make it across dry land to the other side. 45 days, and they say out of their mouths, I wish the Lord had left us there to kill us in Egypt. Man, that's something. There, it says further on in the verse, it says, there we could at least sit down and eat as much other food as we wanted. But you've brought us out into this desert to starve us to death. Man, they know God, don't they? And that goes back to what Julie was saying, is that they went from, going back even before Egypt, they were brought down to Egypt to survive. They came down there, and Joseph, man, brought them down there to survive, and God set them in a place of favor there. And then at 200 years, they forgot God's greatness, God's ability, and they had a slave mentality. And they came across into the other side, and their thoughts were, man, this is tough. Why didn't we just die in Egypt?
And then a few days later, they said there wasn't water, and they said, are you going to kill us of thirst? So it's like from one complaint to the next, right? They didn't know that with the vision, God gives provision.
Yeah. And come back, we'll say that again, but the thing is after they did this, God provided manna for them on a daily basis. But say that line again.
Yeah, so they didn't know that with a vision, God gives provision. So we can see that in this story, that the day-by-day living affects the goal. So they got to where they wanted to go. They got to the promised land. But the way they lived day to day affected how and when they got there.
Yeah, and that's for our international partners. God's given you guys a vision. He will give you provision. Man, trust Him. He didn't bring you to this place to let you die. He brought you to this place to be that Joseph to your vision of those around you.
Yeah, so God took care of them. So even though they complained, even though it was one negative to another, God should have killed us, God was going to kill them, which kind of people think today too, don't they? On a daily basis, God gave them manna. And manna represents two things, something from God, and it represents life. So no wonder that Jesus is called the bread of life. There's so many correlations in Scripture, because God gives us life on a daily basis. When Jesus came, there wasn't like the Israelites, there wasn't hope for mankind.
Yeah, when Jesus came in that day, it wasn't like there was a big, kingdom that was established. They were under slavery. They were under Roman rule. Again, yeah. And they were looking for somebody to bring them to the promised land. And so when Jesus came, He comes out and he says to them, I am the bread of life. God gives us life on a daily basis. That's John 6:35. He said, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty. The victory really in our life is not found in the end game, but it's found in winning every single day. It's finding the victory every single day.
So then it's like, you think about all the choices you make. Your choices to complain or your choices to rejoice. Your choices to, curse or bless. All these things, those were day-to-day choices.
Yeah.
Every situation, especially in the situations we've had, kind of threw us all for a loop. I got to tell you, in January, I didn't see this coming.
No, I
You
didn't
know?
either.
Yeah, I had no idea. And yet then as you walk through the day-to-day of what we have, what choices did I make? What choices did we make to be able to walk through this? Because time happens. You can't stop time. You can get in your closet, you can shut the door, you can sit in a corner and hide your face, and you get up and the next day, time has still happened. So it's not that you can control what happens, but you can control how you respond to it. So it's that kind of thing. Okay, what am I going to do with this? I cannot always control what happens to us, like this past year, but I can control what I do with that.
Yeah. Yes. And so it's an expectation that we have. And the expectation God has for us is that he wants to provide for us day to day, every single day. Nobody eats once a month. It's day to day. We eat every single day. Some of us eat a little bit more than others, especially when it's good barbecue. Well, I know it's good barbecue stuff. So we have that expectation. So what are we doing? Are we just living every day, or are we alive every day?
So Psalm 68:19 says, "Blessed be the Lord who daily loads us with benefits." That's the daily thing. It's the daily life. It's my choices every day that get me to where I want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good news, isn't it?
And that ties back to the manna of giving the children of Israelites bread every day. And Jesus saying, I'm the bread of life. He wants us to have that nourishment every single day. Psalm 68, blessed be the Lord who daily loads us with benefits. Not crumbs, not once a week of crumbs, but daily loads us with benefits.
So then we have to ask the question, what do I want my life to look like today? And that's a good question to ask in the morning. What are the things I'm going to experience today? What am I going to tell myself today? Is it the kind of thing I'm just going to grin and bear it? Oh, my God, it's morning, Or thank God it's morning. There's such a fine line between those two of just, which I got to admit, sometimes this past thing, what we went through, some of the mornings were like that. You were like, what's next? Because it was just so overwhelming. But the thing is that's the time where you have to know who you are and you have to know what God is. And you have to know those daily blessings and be able to look for them.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And have that expectation, have that understanding of who God is and what he wants to provide for us. And so we've just come through a great time of really testing where we're at with us and believing God. And so we've got some stories. We want to talk about how God has shown provision to us during this time.
Daily benefit.
Now, there's ones that have not been able to go to work. There's all different kinds. I've been in an industry that I've worked every single day since COVID started. I haven't been off. And so in the midst of that, it's not just me, but I have to provide for my workers. There's other ones that are depending on me, my subs that work for me. And so in the midst of this, right at the start of this, there was a big event that happened down in South Denver that they had a big, huge water loss in this 30,000 square foot first floor building. And it went to our national loss team. And after that was done, they called me in to do the rebuild. And so I got blessed by being able to have that job right here in Denver. And it was almost $1 million job on our side alone. And it's provided 3 months of work for our teams and our subs. Now that is a provision from God. I couldn't foresee that, but I walked in that God's going to take care of us. And I've got workers that don't know the Lord, don't believe in the Lord. And one of my guys that worked for me said just this week, he said, without that job, I don't know where I would be. And I said, I know. God provided for us. God's provided provision.
And as a family, our whole kind of vision for everyday life is that one of the things is Romans 8:28, that everything works out well for me. And when you have that vision, when you have that day-to-day, then even when stuff comes up that tells you something different, because life tells you something different than God's truth. And we have to say, what is my truth in this?
Mm-hmm.
Where is my truth in this reality that I see? And so we've taken those truths because we know what God says, and we're looking for those daily benefits, and miraculous things have happened. And we just have so many stories from our family.
Before you say that, because we're not saying there's not reality out there. We're saying that God's truth supersedes reality. God's truth supersedes reality. Reality is when the children of Israel went to the Red Sea, it was there. And they looked at it, and I could imagine they're all just thinking, what did you do? You brought us to corner us right here so the Egyptians can come and just kill us right here. That was the reality. But the truth is that God called them to the promised land. Who he calls, he provides. And he provided that way of escape. And these are stories about provision during this time that God has shown himself real to our family.
Just the smallest, from the smallest of things to the biggest of things. God is he's when you walk expecting goodness at every corner, that's what's there. And that was our expectation. And so, everybody had their different journey during this time. My daughter Kendall, who's here, she was an event coordinator, and of course there are no events. And they all canceled, and it just was like there was no job in California. She lives in San Diego. And so we're talking about it, and she said, well, if I'm going to be anywhere, I'm going to come out here. And so she's been in Colorado since March. But that was a gift for her. And along the way, he's provided. She's had enough money to pay her rent. She's had enough money to pay her bills, and she's not working. Now, that was her provision. Now, Joel, on the other hand, he saved his company. They were also an event company.
Big event company. They do huge events. 6,000, 10,000 people coming to the events. Multi-million. They've spent $30, $40 million on these events.
Canceled.
Everything single event was canceled this year.
And so Joel, using his gifts and talents, he got in there and he started, and God gave him ideas, and he saved the company. He came, and before this, he wasn't being honored as an employee. And then now they're praising him, saying, man, Joel saved our company. They can see it. Yeah. So that whole thing, this whole situation that's happened has turned his job around. And he got the job that he always wanted. And in the beginning of the year, he was traveling for Gentry's birthday, Bonnie's birthday, Mother's Day, all the big events. And this just took all those out because he's not traveling.
Yeah.
So, it turned for his good in a way we could have never imagined.
Yeah, and I told him, I said, you're going to be a director. I said that to him before it even happened. But the idea, it's like a Joseph thing, that God gave him this idea and his talents and ability, and he went to the company, the ownership, and presented that to him, and it's caused his company to survive. And so they promoted him, and he has become a director just recently. Just recently. Yeah, praise God.
And so then, down to the smallest things, because as you walk, your life is fluid, and you're just always moving forward. And as you walk, you're just expecting that goodness. And so down to my daughter Leah took Sherry's son David home to Kansas City for a while because she was out here, and then she didn't have a booster seat. Well, Jesse, her husband, was driving by somewhere, and there was a booster seat for free. And Michaela my other daughter back there, had a desire for a bike. But it was specific. Well, there was a bike in her neighborhood for free.
Free.
Gentry walks down her alley, and there is free furniture. And, it's just this constant thing. And I'm going to read Romans 8:15 through 17. And this is from the Message Bible. And it says, this resurrection life you've received from God is not a timid, grave-tending life. It's adventurously expectant, greeting God with a childlike, what's next, Papa? And God's Spirit touches our spirits and confirms who we really are. And we know who he is, and we know who we are, father and children, like Arthur talked about this morning. And we know we are going to get what's coming to us. That sounds ominous, right? But we're not. It's an unbelievable inheritance. We go through exactly what Christ goes through. If we go through the hard times with him, then we are certainly going to go through the good times with him. Certainly, I love the words. We know. I know who he is. I know who I am. I know. See, the children of Israel didn't know who God was because they came out, and it was that ominous, we're going to get what's coming to us. Okay,
Yeah.
what's that? Oh, wait, provision. That's what's coming to us.
Yeah.
And then as we do that, it's that life of expectancy and joy. And wait, I got to talk about Ashley because I see her. So Ashley is in the baby making business. They do fertility. And so in the beginning, is that an essential business or not? Back and forth, back and forth. And she ended up, though, and it was a roller coaster because, oh, yes, you have your job. No, you don't have your job. It's that kind of thing in the beginning. And not only did she keep her job, but now she got to keep her hours, and it was miraculous. And then she she moved into a condo, and she got this couch for like half price, and this other IKEA TV stand that she couldn't get ordered from IKEA during all this, and it was online for half the price, and it was all assembled, and all the things, very small, down to it was assembled. Because who has put together IKEA?
Way too
Right?
much.
And when you're by yourself and trying to do IKEA anything, so God provided for her an assembled IKEA. And
Yeah.
so those are the kind of things. So that's that first thing. So everyday vision looks like this.
Yeah. And I just want to say at the end of that is that whatever we're going through, whether it's good or bad, we don't look at that circumstance. And that's not what is important. What is important to God is how we see it. Dave always said, whatever you're going through, you're just going through. Just keep on going through. You're not stopping. You're not camping there. Just keep going.
Yeah. So what does everyday vision look like? ECBG. ECBG. Expectation, change your focus, benefits, and gratitude. So expectation, that's the first thing. What is your expectation on a day-to-day basis? And sometimes you might have learned growing up that it's dread. Maybe you just dread things because your family worried and you're always worried about money, or your family was, angry and you're just going to get angry that day. So we grow up with all these things that we have to relearn because we know who God
Yeah.
is. We know who He is, and we know who we are.
Yeah. There's an advantage to being old.
Are you old?
And I'm not there. I've been doing camp 42 years because I'm 43. But the advantage to being old and following God is that you can look back and see the history of God's provision for you in your life. And I look back and I remember moving from Arkansas back in '87 up here to Colorado. Didn't know anybody, but I knew God called me here. And as I got up here, over the years, at first when I was first here, I thought I was like the Israelites. God, did you bring me up to Colorado to die? And I left a place where it was provision, a lot of blessing, a lot of things. And I came up here and it was just desert. It was dry. But the thing about it is that as I look back in my life, I see God's provision all the way through, the step by step by step by step, and what God had done. And so one of the things that God had said to me is that you've been influential in kids in the nation, but you'll become influential to get kids in the world. And we've taken youth camp around the world. We've gone to different places, and that was one of the things He promised me by being up here. So expectation is, as I look back in my life, I've seen God's provision so much. I know right now He's not leaving me. I know in the middle of whatever's going on, He has provision. That is my expectation. So wherever you're at, there is provision for you right now in this time.
We can't look at our circumstances and think, is that all there is? And Ashley, I'm going to talk about you again because, we all go through stuff. And she's newly single and living on her own now with 4 kids. And all her coworkers in her office, of her fertility office, are like telling her horror stories about their divorce and being single and we can't make it. And, oh, it's awful. And it's the worst thing ever. But she has a different truth. So you always have to go back, okay, that might be somebody else. That might be what it is, but I have a different truth. I'm well provided for. I'm loved and highly favored. People go out of their way to be good to me. And that's what they do. And then Ashley can have a different experience than everybody tells her she has to have because you're in these circumstances. These are the circumstances you're in. This is what you have to have. But no, it is so different than you have to say, life is for me. I love saying life is for me because I have to remember that. Life is for me. Today, life is for me.
True. So the second thing after expectation is changing your focus. Getting off of what it is around us, the reality that around us, and focusing on the truth of what God has promised us, what his benefits are. Focus on those things. Change your focus. Don't see your circumstance, whatever you're going through. Remember, you're just going through it. It too will pass. It came to pass.
So in that focus, like Arthur was talking about this morning, when you focus on something, like if you're thinking about a car and all of a sudden you see that car everywhere. It's like I went to Costco the other day and I liked this certain kind of kombucha, but I wasn't looking for it. So somebody asked me and said, well, was it there? And I said, I don't know, I wasn't looking for it. So that's the way it is with our life. If we're not looking for it, we may not see it. Because I couldn't tell you if it was there because I wasn't looking. And our focus is so much that we have to be intentionally looking for something to find it a lot of times. And then, so it's expectation, change your focus, benefits. So you just think about the names of God. The names of God, and you see all the benefits. He provides direction, protection, provision, the help, the counselor. Goodness, we could go on. Healing. He's everything. Whatever you need, that is your provision. God is. And he has a very real way of making that happen for you.
Yeah. I mean, when he sums it up and says that everything pertains to life and godliness is ours in Christ Jesus. Everything.
Everything.
Everything. Underline, circle, do everything. Everything that pertains to life and godliness. That is a benefit from God.
That's right.
For us.
Expectation, change your focus, benefits, and of course, what we all have to have is gratitude. You got to know who to thank. There's a lot of people who talk about the universe and, how it brings this and that, but I know who to thank. You can thank a very vague thing, or you can thank a person, a very real, someone who's so involved, this magnificent creation, I can't even imagine what he's like because that's the gratitude. We know who to thank.
Yeah. So we just want to close and say to you guys, day to day, your day-to-day vision is how you get to your end vision. Is being that winner every single day, being in the circumstance, whatever it is, good or bad, not looking at that, but looking at God, your provider, to provide for us.
And just remember that life is fluid and time goes by, and look here, it's been 3 months and we're already on this side, and whatever else we go through, it will already be on the other side, and it's a continuous flow. And so when you can do it in these kind of things, it just makes it so much easier. And maybe it won't take 40 years. Maybe it'll just take that 11 days.
Yeah.
If we don't complain and think that God's going to kill us all the time.
Yeah. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. It's awesome.
All right.
Yeah.